Now that we know how the firm maximizes profits, let's focus on the marginal revenue side and see what the impact is of the industry that the firm operates and the marginal revenue. So let's start again with a question. Suppose, again, you sell barbecue sandwiches, and a friend of yours tells you that since the demand for your sandwiches in the area you work, let's say in Campus Town, is inelastic, you should increase the price in order to increase profits. This seems to make sense. So, should you follow your friend's advice? Take a moment to answer the question and then come back. What do you think? Well, if you follow your friend's advice, then you probably don't know much about economics, and you're following your friends that maybe haven't taken the class, because the answer to this question is maybe. Your friend doesn't have all the information. Why is that? Well, let's take an example. It's a barbecue sandwich you sell. It's a pretty tasty sandwich. You have a price for it, let's say $8. You would like to increase the price, but the problem is that there's a lot of other places around town that are selling not the same exact barbecue sandwich, but something pretty similar. So you're facing tough competition. I mean, no one is selling exactly the same sandwich you sell, but a lot of other people are selling barbecue sandwiches. And when you think about that, a lot of other people selling actual sandwiches, then you think that you're facing a lot of competition. So when we assume that you're in a very competitive market, what your friend doesn't realize is that you are part of the market demand. And the market demand could be inelastic. But your demand is actually quite elastic, because when you increase the price, there's no reason they can keep buying your sandwich. They can buy someone else's sandwich. Now notice that the closer your sandwich is to the quality and the taste of the other sandwiches, the less control you have over that price. So what we're saying here is that for goods that are very, very homogeneous and that have a lot of competition, a lot of people selling it, each individual firm doesn't have any control over the price. Each individual firm faces perfectly elastic demand, even though the market demand could be different. And this is the assumption we make of a particular market structure called perfect competition. And it's a very realistic assumption when you have markets that are very, very competitive. Let's say the shoe market that you saw right there, or the markets for produce in New York City, or the corn market. All of those are very competitive markets. So in those markets, the firms have no control over the price, because if they change the price, they'll lose all the customers. And if they lower the price to gain customer, everyone else will actually do the same. So and those markets is a perfectly elastic demand. Now, it's a very important implication of that to the marginal revenue that is so important to maximize profits. And let me give you a numerical example to explain that. Say you sell one sandwich at $8, and you want to increase the number of sandwiches, and you sell 2 sandwiches, and you make $16 in revenue. What is the difference? $8. That is the extra revenue you get from selling one more sandwich. What about if you sell a third sandwich? What will be the extra revenue of that? Well, the extra revenue of that, it will be total revenue with 24. The extra revenue is 8. You get a little bit of math, and you're familiar with math, you get in this point pretty quickly. If total revenue equals price times quantity, if the price is fixed, then the change in revenue is always going to be equal to the quantity. So the extra revenue of one additional quantity will be exactly the price. So the implication for perfect competition is that if you work in a perfectly competitive industry that faces a lot of competition, your marginal revenue, in fact, is going to be equal to the price. So your demand is completely elastic. And notice that the annoying thing about that is that, remember that to maximize profits, you're going to equalize marginal revenue and marginal cost. Well, if your marginal revenue equals the price, then essentially what you're going to try to do if you are in a competitive industry is to equate the marginal revenue to the price. And the price is not set by you, it's set by the market. So this is a very annoying thing, because it means that to maximize profits, you have no control over that side of the equation. You have no control over the marginal revenue side. The only way you can increase your profits is actually by controlling your cost. So as you can see, there's a lot of incentive for firms to actually gain some degree of market power to kind of cut some of that competition in order for them to get some degree of power over that left side of this equation, over the marginal revenue. And how do you do that? Well, in the barbecue industry, you can try to convince people that, selling this kind of sandwich is not really barbecue, and who puts French fries in barbecue sandwich? That doesn't make any sense. And you make another advertisement making fun of the other people who actually call themselves barbecue when they really healthy thing, and you keep advertising to try to gain some degree of market power to differentiate your product from other products. And what you're doing is you're trying to get some control over the price by twisting your demand curve from being completely perfectly elastic to a little bit inelastic, right? To have some inclination. It's probably not going to be completely inelastic as a market demand unless you have a monopoly, but the more product differentiation you get, the more control you get over the price. And as it turns out, most of the firms that you're familiar with do have some degree of market power because they are very good at differentiating the product. But there are examples of perfect competition. The produce market in a big city or the corn market, stock market is very competitive. In those markets, there's no control over the price. They have to do the best they can with costs. Okay, so what does all this mean? Well, remember when we talk about profit, we said that we're going to deal with it separately. Forget about cost for now. We say that we're going to divide this by two types of situation. One in which the firm has some degree of market power, differentiation, and in that situation, the firm can use the revenue side in order to increase profits. But since that is a really diverse and difficult example, we're going to start with the easier example, which is that the firms have no control over the price. They're price takers, the perfect competition example. And we're going to generalize our situation in the short run and in the long run about perfect competition, and then we're going to switch to the price makers. So for now, we're going to talk about price takers and what happens in the short run and in the long run in that particular market. And remember, this is a market in which they have no control over the price. The only thing they can do is to try to control cost.